Today's episode is presented by LodeStar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of LodeStar Lending Leaders. This week, I'm joined with Rob Chrane from the CEO and founder of Down Payment Resources to talk a little bit about more about what he does there. And I'm really excited to jump into it. So thank you, Rob, so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Alayna. It's great to be with you. Appreciate the chance.
Of course. So we have some great questions for you here today. But I think something that we talk about a lot is affordability in the mortgage industry. You know, we talk about it from a closing costs angle, and obviously the down payment is a huge hurdle, right? We talk about cash to close a lot here at LodeStar. You know, how has your journey from an LO to, being here really guided how you deal with down payments?
Yeah, so the journey started really when I think about it back in the early 90s. I was originating, and I actually went to work for a bank as a producing manager. That bank had a strong commitment to meeting its CRA requirements. And so everybody, no matter where you worked, and my branch was in a relatively affluent area, but you were still expected to do outreach every month and turn in reports and say what you did. So that got me, that made me aware of the challenges and the opportunities around down payment assistance. And I actually even back then spent part of a weekend writing a memo to my boss saying, here's how I think you should do it, or how we should do it. It wasn't what became Down Payment Resource, but yeah, it was a fascinating, complicated problem that I thought about. And then fast forward, 14 years later, I was in a boardroom with a bunch of developers and home builders. I was on a steering committee, and we were trying to figure out how to spend a multi-million-dollar gift that was given by a developer to start what they called a workforce housing center. Mm-hmm. And everybody was sitting around this big conference table saying, well, what's a workforce housing center? What should we do with the money? And I was, I didn't speak developer speak, but I was trying to contribute to the conversation. So I thought, what would I do with this money? I thought, first thing I would do is try to clean up this messy, fragmented process of finding and matching down payment assistance programs. Because, every metro area and even smaller towns and cities may have dozens of programs offered by different providers, different rules, different amounts of money. The funding comes and goes. How's anybody supposed to keep up with it? It's not something you do every day. So that was really the beginning of the idea. And I had said really for a long time, there's got to be a better way to do this. Somebody needs to clean this up, and absolutely no intention of doing this. Seriously, it was the furthest thing from my mind. But, if you say something enough times, be careful what you wish for, because, somebody will hand you the baton and say, all right, go do it, wise guy. And, just through a series of circumstances that life throws at you, the opportunity came up, and that was the beginning of that. That was the end of 2007.
Awesome. And, since you've kind of talked about the journey that you've been on through that, how has tech impacted it since you started in 2007 even to now? I think there's been a huge rise in tech in the mortgage industry and how we use it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And just amazing amount of technology, amazing technology, so much technology, so little time. And, I think one of the biggest challenges of technology is just adoption. And, having said that, as a vendor, and I'm sure you guys, every vendor, every provider of solutions of any type, something new there's a adoption curve to it. So, in terms of the lending process, but especially the home buyer journey, there's so many things we could talk about with technology. But at the start of it, I would say, the biggest change is just the internet. And when home search switched from, reading real estate ads or going to a real estate office to find out what was available, you could find it online. Mm-hmm. And everybody starts their home search online now. And especially first-time home buyers, you're probably starting 6 months, 12 months, maybe 18 months ahead of time because you don't think you have enough money. You think it's going to take a while before you're ready, but it's an aspiration. So you're dreaming and planning, and you're looking on the internet. And that really was a kind of fundamental to our strategy. And it's this, that nobody, or almost nobody, still knows that down payment assistance exists. When I say nobody, mainly consumers.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It just, I could tell you stories, but anyway, so people start online. They don't know that home buying assistance or down payment assistance is available. That they don't even understand the concept of it. But what better place to inform people? And the opportunity to inform people about it is that not only does the household have to be eligible, but the property has to be eligible. And most people think about, well, does my borrower make too much money, enough money? What are they, a community hero? Are there programs for them? All of those kind of characteristics around the household that determine eligibility. But the property, where the property sits, because these programs have specific geographic boundaries. Most of the programs have a maximum sales price. Certain property types are eligible depending on the program. So what we decided is nobody knows about these programs. Everybody starts a home search online. Before we tell people they're eligible for down payment assistance, why don't we tell them that a property is eligible, if it is? And not only is that property eligible for down payment assistance, but which specific programs might be available, assuming they're eligible.
No, and that is honestly a truly wonderful thing that you've built there. How do you guys account for, then educating the borrower on, how do I qualify? What are the barriers to entry? All of that. I know, for example, Philadelphia has a great home buyers assistance program, but you've had to live in the city for a certain number of years. You have to be under, a certain income bracket and all of that. You have to buy within city boundaries. What does that look like from the second piece of education?
Yeah, that's where it gets complicated, right? Because it's one thing to talk about down payment assistance, but you're right. We built a database and started collecting all of these kinds of details about the programs in the database. And over the years, we've expanded the amount of information we have about the program. So we have up to probably a couple of hundred data points about each program. Now, each program doesn't necessarily have 200 rules to it, but for all the different types of programs we track, you need to be able to accommodate all the different rules. But it's very complicated. So we track that. We track it on a monthly basis. And we also track the funding status because, you need to know, is the money there right now or not? So our team does that on a monthly basis. They made over 200,000 updates just last year alone to the database. So things change. That's the hard part. It's most of that's manual. These agencies don't have APIs to plug into and get the latest. So
we very much understand that here.
Yeah. We consider ourselves sort of the de facto API into all this information. So we organize it, and the funny thing is, for all of these rules and details, there's really only about 7 questions you need to ask people. Part of it, like I said, is the property. Where is it located? What's the price? What's the property type? But then your household, how many people in the household? What's your home ownership history? Have you owned a home in the last 3 years or not? If it's been more than 3 years, you're considered a first-time home buyer. Some of these programs have first-time home buyer requirements. So all those kind of things. So we asked the 7 questions, and somebody used the analogy that we automate the process of this complicated matching. And somebody said, oh, this is like Match.com for DPA. And that's maybe the easiest way to explain at least part of what we do. There's obviously more going on in the background, but so that's how people find out they're eligible. Instead of trying to go through a lengthy program guideline or a complicated matrix to see if the stars and the moon align here or not. It's just answer these questions and here's the answer.
Awesome. And obviously you're very passionate about this program because it does provide access to home ownership for a lot of people that otherwise may not have access to it. There are a lot of organizations right now that are doing a lot of good in that market. NAMBA's one of them. And how are you working? There's a lot of conversation around, Spanish speakers specifically, with some people translating 1040 forms into Spanish, really working on how can we make this process more bilingual, more inclusive. How have you guys worked with that as well?
Yeah, so on the language part, we have not gotten to the point where we want to be. There are a couple of reasons for that. I'd say, it's more at the detail level of the programs because the fact that, as I said, things change all the time. So trying to keep that many, we have over 2,200 programs, almost 2,300 programs in the database, and with all these different rules. So I think what we will do before too long is at least the basic part of the website and the basic questions we could have, in different languages. But as far as trying to keep up with all the details, we hadn't figured out, maybe with machine learning or artificial intelligence or natural language processing, maybe we can get there, but we haven't yet.
And I think as a whole, right, it's something the industry is really striving to and working towards. I don't think there's any one technology that has done it really well yet. I go to a lot of conferences, I interact with a lot of vendors. Multi-language is not something I think anyone really excels at yet. So the fact that it's on your roadmap is absolutely wonderful. Could you give us just kind of your perspective on homebuyer education? I know it's something that, we talked a little bit about cash to close earlier and all of that. How do you view homebuyer education as part of the process as someone who's been both an LO and is now kind of on the vendor side?
Yeah, it's critical. It's critical in several ways, but the good thing is that most of these programs require the borrower to take a HUD-approved homebuyer education program and get their certificate before they close. And the reason that's so important is, let me say it the other way. It's proven to be so important because the data shows that these loans, the payment performance on loans that have down payment assistance layered, are on par with prime loans. Sometimes people think, if you need down payment assistance, isn't that a subprime loan or something? And it's absolutely not. These loans are fully underwritten. They have minimum FICO scores, and you have to have that education. And that education has proven to be one of the major factors in the good performance that these borrowers have on their payment history. So vital. And, as you know, even beyond that, there are programs out there, post-closing home ownership programs and things like that help even more. So you just can't get enough of that education. There's so much to learn.
And, obviously we stress the importance of it. Is there anything you think that, as a whole, when we're talking about homebuyer education, where do you see the future of that going? Obviously, we're looking a lot to, we've had some great mortgage influencers on our podcast, Jordan Nutter from NFM Lending, Stacy Reel, all of those have kind of talk a lot about homebuyer education and making it more approachable for home buyers. Where do you see us continuing going down that route, or do you think there's a need for more formalized education, like a HUD certified program for home buyers?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a need for that, but one of the changes in the last, I don't know, since we've been doing this over the last 15 years is that there are some HUD approved online education programs, and that makes a lot of sense because everybody's busier than ever. That made a whole lot of sense during COVID because you couldn't have the Saturday morning classes down at the housing finance agency. So that's helped make it easier, on demand. I mean, you still have to do it, and you don't want to be doing it the night before closing, or you might delay your closing. So, but having said that, I think there's a huge opportunity. I know there's a huge opportunity for loan officers and lending institutions to offer as much education as they can. I mean, some things, it's the whole thing about, it's kind of a cliche, but high tech, high touch.
Yeah.
And we see this. We've seen it even more so the last couple of years. A lot of lenders are getting out there. They're really getting out into the communities and doing more education face to face. And that just means a lot. It's great to get it online, but when you can, see somebody face to face, sit down, answer their questions, build that trust. That's how you start to build your customers for life. Start early and build that relationship, build that trust, and do something for them that nobody else has done. Tell them about down payment assistance. A lot of people haven't. So, looking at ways to differentiate yourself, this is still a blue ocean of opportunity.
I love that. And I think we'd be a little remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about automation. It's kind of, an ongoing trend. It's almost not a trend at this point anymore. It's something lenders are being forced into at this point. How are you guys using automation with your tools? Do lenders have access to it through that?
Yes. Yeah. So, everything we have that they license from us is in the cloud. It automates some very complicated processes. And then in the background, just managing our database, because again, you can imagine over 2,000 programs and updating all the changes. And I don't even know where to begin really to kind of paint a picture of how complicated it is keeping these programs up to date. Because, for example, if it's a program available to the state of Pennsylvania, there's still going to be different coverage areas, and the sales price or the maximum household income will vary, be higher in the city of Philadelphia than it would be, in Western Pennsylvania, for example.
Yeah.
So, trying to keep all of these moving parts and go through these updates, requires more and more automation. The other thing that what we're looking at now, and the jury's still out because it's pretty complicated, but we think there's an opportunity possibly to, I mentioned AI and natural language processing and machine learning. We're looking at all of the information, the pieces of information we have, the documents that the information comes from, and we're assessing, could those technologies be applied to streamline that process? Because again, the agencies don't have APIs to get to their latest updates. We've got to capture that and process it, and it's just very, very manual.
Yeah, I totally understand that. We manage fees for every county, every township, all 50 states.
Yeah, we need to compare notes offline and figure out if we may be missing something that you're doing that you could help us with.
We can do that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for taking the time to meet with me today and talk about down payments and assistant programs. It's honestly so wonderful to have someone putting this together so it's an easy to access database for home buyers and lenders to use to help their borrowers as well, especially with where we're headed, most likely, according to the MBA. So where can people find you, Rob?
Well, they could find me on downpaymentresource.com.
Perfect.
My email address is rchrane@downpaymentresource.com, Chrane with an H, so RCHRANE. Or they could, if you don't remember that, just at downpaymentresource.com, just click on info at and shoot me an email. And we love to get emails. We love to answer questions. We love to talk to people, and we love to hear people's experiences. We do a lot of case studies, and that's one of the most inspiring things is to hear some of the personal stories, both from a loan officer's point of view, a real estate agent's point of view, and of course the home buyer's point of view. When you can as a real estate professional when you can help somebody get into a home way before they thought they could, or maybe they didn't even think it was ever possible, you're really doing something special for somebody. I mean, you're changing the trajectory of their, not only their financial lives, but their entire lives, because of all the other benefits that come along with home ownership. It's wealth building and generational wealth building, but it's health outcomes, educational outcomes, just quality of life. So, when you could do this for people, it's a superpower that loan officers and real estate agents have that they can offer their customers. And again, not everybody's doing it. So, there's a great opportunity too. But the thing that, along those lines, that sort of helps fuel this inspiration is, St. Louis Fed in the last couple of years put out some research, and they just compared the median net worth of homeowners versus renters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the median for homeowners was $256,000. For renters, it was, I want to say, $5,600 or something like that. So you just look at that one stat and think, wow, I could really change somebody's life. And I could tell you story after story about some of the case studies we've done. But you can imagine, and I know with what you guys do, you've seen this too. So I'm preaching to the choir.
Well, I appreciate it. And I realized I didn't ask you the funnest question, which I think for what you guys do is so important. A LodeStar is actually a guiding light in the night sky. It's what we're named after. And, we always like to ask our guests, what do you think your guiding light is? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I think just what I mentioned is just, it really, maybe this sounds corny, but I don't care. It's a win-win-win. I mean, Our team is so excited every day because they know that people are benefiting from it. Ultimately, a homeowner or a new homeowner is benefiting, but anybody who uses our tools benefits. Loan officers can close more loans, realtors can sell more homes. When a loan officer can help their referral partners sell more homes in a year, that builds that relationship. So, it feels good. Yeah,
it does. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for joining me today. And everyone who's listened this far, thank you for listening to us. Please like, subscribe, comment, and rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening or watching to this podcast. It really helps us out. And thank you so much for listening, and we'll see everyone next week. Thank you for listening to the LodeStar Lending Leaders podcast. Please like, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars anywhere you get your podcasts. A special thank you to the LodeStar podcast production team, Jim Paolino, Tim Austin, and John Gardner.